Yeah. I'll react if I had to. Put some things in the past too, and don't let them distract you, but react if you have to. Yeah. I'll react if I had to. Put some things in the past too, and don't let them distract you, but react if you have to. Yeah. React if you have to. Yeah.
Don't know the time, yeah. Just know that I'm, one of a kind, What's on your mind, What hard to find, Beautiful mind, Still in my prime, Just know that I'm here.
What's up, everybody? This is Chris and Jeff, Pondoff's Anonymous, episode 28. For the four of you that noticed that we didn't have a episode drop last Monday, it's because we were taking a holiday break. It was a 4th of July weekend, and I still have all my fingers.
Yeah.
So Charlie has all his fingers.
That's good.
So I'd say it was a successful 4th of July barbecue and fireworks and breather from reality weekend for some, for us, I think.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of people, may not have been such a breather, but a reminder of some things. So, without getting too much into that, Jeff, did you have a nice 4th?
Yeah, man. I'm trying to remember what we did. We didn't do anything on the actual 4th of July that was special, but the night before, hung out with some friends. Your sister and brother-in-law were...
My condolences.
Yeah. So, yeah, and social distance outside party. It was fun.
Yeah, good, man.
Their kids all played with sparklers, which I thought is so hilarious that we let kids play with that stuff compared to the other ways we're so like helicopter parent over them. But here's some fire in your hand on burning metal.
Nothing could go wrong there.
No, not at all.
So that's funny because as you're rapidly approaching fatherhood.
Yes. Yeah. Months away. Always months away, though, right?
Right. Well, you, like I said, the clock started. You just gotta, because she's the wives, I think, are worth two, right? So
yes,
I gotta be careful. But good, man. We had a fun pool day and a barbecue, and it was for the most part a news and social media free day.
Mm-hmm.
Besides some throwing pictures up of having a good time, which everybody kind of does, but
sure,
it was fun, and it was a good break. It's we were trying to get something scheduled. My work life has ramped up for the time being to.
Yep.
It's not a. Well, it's a semi-permanent thing. Just responsibilities, and we're in the middle of a new. Sorry for being ambiguous, but a new thing at work where it's right now taking a lot of time. So it was, for me personally, a great break. As much as I love to sit here and just bullshit for an hour and a half with you, there's I know you have you do all the work on the back end of getting it up and making it possible for people to listen to. So I hope you I'm always conscious of that, and I hope you got somewhat of a breather, because
yeah,
I know when the pandemic first hit, I often think of you because you guys, your whole work, working for a large church, and people don't realize that probably don't go to church on what the production level is now. I mean, this isn't like you see in the old movies where you walk into wooden pews and there's a couple people in a choir and the pastor talks for 6 hours and then you leave sweating your balls off and go back to your Sunday. This is, it's an engaging church that is on the front line of technology, which helps make it intriguing and compelling. So you're behind all that, most of that, right? So
Yeah.
when the pandemic hit, your responsibilities not only shifted but probably fucking increased.
Yeah.
And now I often think of that as that's kind of happened in my line of work now. So I understand why you were sometimes on the podcast when the camera wasn't on you breathing in a brown paper bag.
Yeah, man. I think too, like, and maybe you're experiencing this since your work ramped up too. Like my anxiety levels went from, just normal to here and then back down and then up again. It's weird. Like,
Yeah, man.
Just, and I think it's just learning new stuff and learning, it's funny because like what we're doing now with the live streaming at church is it's next to what I do. Like it's video, but it's
Yep.
kind of like teaching calculus versus teaching algebra. It's all math, but it's not the same, right?
Right. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that I passed any of those fucking classes.
Right. Me either.
Which is funny because when we had Matt Miofsky on, who's your boss and the lead pastor. I think he's your boss.
Yeah, definitely. He's
I guess
everybody's
my
boss.
Yeah, he's my boss too, because when he says something, I do listen for the most part.
Yeah.
I might try it the wrong way a couple times, and then I'm like, yeah, that fucker was right. But he's like a math wizard.
Oh,
We
yeah.
talked about that when we had him on the podcast. He's like a Wash U math major.
Yeah.
In my experience, I have not a whole lot of experience outside of this church, but that usually doesn't equate to a pastor or I don't know, not to stereotype math majors, but I am. But yeah. So
Did you see his show? He
No,
started,
I didn't. You were mentioning something. What
He
what
started a
happened?
new thing. He's doing like just a quick interview on like a half an hour interview on Wednesday nights. He was doing his devotion on Instagram. So anyway, he's doing sort of a interview, and he did his first one, and he asked me to help him, and I set him all up right here in this spot that I'm in with our gear.
I noticed. I saw it because I saw he's wearing the hat, and I
He's-
commented, "Nice hat."
Yep, he's wearing the Pondoff's Anonymous hat. Yep, and his son Caleb made fun of him for wearing a flat bill.
Well, then I need to talk to Caleb because I
Yeah.
wear it.
You need to get Caleb a hat.
That's a great point. He's our number one stunner when it comes to Charlie. So we see a lot of Caleb.
Yeah,
We'll have to get him a hat for sure, especially before he leaves for college, so he can
Yeah.
sport it down in Springfield Mo and tell all his college students when they're puking and sick from alcohol poisoning that they can check out our podcast.
subscribe to the podcast.
I don't. That's great. I'll have to check that out. And I saw it for just a second. I was running crazy on Wednesday night, and because I noticed his hat, and then I took a closer look. I'm like, that's a good looking microphone, and I didn't realize. I'm like, man, I wonder if they called our boils at over in Fairview at Heel Sound.
Get you some Heil sound, yeah.
Is it Heil or Heel?
It's Heil. Yeah.
Heil Sound. Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry, guys. New to the sound game, but
It's all good.
Yes, check out Steve over there. Give him a call.
Yeah.
If you need contact
Dude,
information, shoot us a note.
Bob Heil he's still alive. He's a legend in the sound industry. Like you ever seen like Joe Walsh or what's his name, Richie Sambora from Bon Jovi, or Peter Frampton, where they make their guitar talk? Like they're like wah 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 wah.
Oh yeah, I've seen that actually.
Yeah, that's like a talk box, and that dude Heil invented that thing, and all these
No
famous
shit.
guitarists have to have it. It's pretty cool.
It's wild, man. That is
I know.
nuts.
There's a little inside baseball geeky time. Sorry.
No, that's all right. I like to learn, man. That's awesome. I'm
Yeah.
a music guy, surface level.
Yeah.
So always interested in hearing stuff like that, especially for unofficial, friend of the show. We'll call it. We're not we don't have any sponsors, but they've donated gear. They're friends of the show. So
that's right.
That's awesome, man. I don't know if you can hear my voice, but I sound a little nasally, right?
Yeah.
You hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, shit. You're supposed to say, no, I can't tell at all. Thanks a lot, fucking
Well,
asshole.
sorry.
But it's all right.
I'm just trying to be honest. We're trying to keep it open and honest on this pod.
Yes, sir. Always. I bring that up because I had a little scare on Thursday, Wednesday night.
No.
I came home from work Wednesday night. Then we went to Clayton site to meet the new pastor. Was a nice deal. Different. It's just so different. Still going there with us not being able to still have church there because of everything. But met Charity Goodwin, who's going to be the new site pastor at the gathering at the Clayton site where my wife and I go and son. Did all that. Got dinner afterwards. Came home after dinner. I started noticing I was getting a little coffee and scratching my throat, which I might know my body. It's I'm like, shit, I'm getting a sinus infection.
Yeah.
But with everything going on, it adds a whole fucking other layer, right?
Yep.
And I with the project, if you want to call it that we have going on at work, there's a lot of new people involved, and it's the last. We just want to be transparent, and the last thing you want to do is make anybody uncomfortable, or obviously, we take it very seriously.
Sure.
And here you're in what's going through my mind is I'm like I'm shit. Like I can't go in and like not going to work right now is not an option.
Right.
Because we're in the middle of, I'm not saying that, illness happens, vacation happens. For me personally, trying to get some things done, it's just the worst time to try to get sick, right?
Yeah.
And then you add all the anxiety on top of it. I'm like, shit, I can't go in there. I gotta go get a test.
Yep.
So I made some calls, and I found a place, and I went and got a test, and I got the results real quickly, and they're negative.
Yeah, that's good.
So I went Thursday morning and did that, and then
they stuck a thing up your nose?
I mean, it was like getting a fucking prostate exam through my nose, brother.
Was it painful? First-hand account, let's hear it, Chris. What was it like to get the test?
I'm going to be dramatic because that's how I am about medical shit. They stuck this Q-tip that was the size of a Roman fucking candle up to behind my eyeball.
Oh, my God.
But I'm a wussy.
Me too.
In the grand scheme of things, it really wasn't anything. If I had to pick, like just when you go get blood or get blood test, and I always tell, like I played ice hockey my whole life, get my shit kicked out of me and punched in the face, and I can handle all that, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to that little needle, I can't look at it. I still look for my mom's hand. I want to hide under the fucking table, hide from the nurse. I think I would probably take the needle over the swab up the nose, but in the grand, just because it goes up there and it's so awkward, but it's so quick. Like,
yeah,
you think they're up there for an hour, and it's like literally a second. They were kind. It was really a simple procedure to get that done. And I like to add the dramatics because I'm a big fucking baby when it comes to medical shit. But yeah, and I felt I get the test results. I mean, rather rapidly, and I get home. I wasn't overly concerned,
right?
Because I know this feeling. You know your body, but there is that extra layer now, right?
Yeah.
And then the thought of going out in public and coughing or anything sounding like this, talking to somebody,
Yeah.
they're gonna look like you, like if you know, you got the fuck. I mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy. So I had to work. I worked from home yesterday, Thursday, and then yesterday I went into to an office space that we have that's really secluded. There was nobody else in there because I had to get some stuff done, and we're all careful with masks. We have safe policies because health and safety is number one priority at the place we work, and as it should be, and everywhere. And we just powered through. But it's when you get, because regular shit's gonna happen to you. You're gonna get sick, right? You're gonna get illnesses, and every time you do now, it's gonna be two layers of anxiety, right? It's gonna be the, oh shit, is this fucking COVID?
Yep.
And then once that goes away, if it does, let us pray, it's going to be, man, I can't go out. Like, so we were supposed to have dinner with some friends last night at Olive and Oak, and we had to cancel because it's just not.
Yeah.
You know, we told them everything up front, and we were like, but we just don't want to go out and risk it. Because they all say, you know, and we say this at work, if you're not feeling well, stay home, like, for real.
Right.
And it's easy to say, but when it happens to you, it's like, man, but I got XYZ to do. I got to get it done. And it's so hard to kind of take a step back and be like, I got to stay home. So it was an interesting Wednesday night. Thursday I was and then Thursday night, obviously, we sit down for dinner, and we got just like Channel 5 news, which goes into the national news, and every story, like headline stories about how people are having trouble getting their test results back, and I'm like, well, fuck. Then I felt guilty.
Yeah.
But,
well, I mean, everybody who
and then
thinks they have
Ashley,
it needs a chance to get tested. I mean,
you know, first thing Ashley said to me, she's like, "That's your privilege."
Well,
So I got privileged on Thursday night. Yeah, that she dropped that grenade right at dinner. So, but yeah, it was crazy, and now, you know, we have some things coming up this weekend that we're probably not really going to be able to do, but which is fine. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's just a whole nother layer. When you have a fucking sniffle, you gotta be safe, man. And out there, I mean, it's anybody, you hear somebody sneeze or cough, you're like, shit, avoid that person, or worse. I mean, everybody sees all the craziness going on because those videos get shared, and I don't think they're a accurate measurement of reality. I often feel that way about the internet, but
yeah,
it was interesting. But anyway, today, you know, to share that, I wanted to talk a little bit today, and I've been putting it off, about foster care. And the reason it's kind of fresh on my mind now is because a couple things. First off, this weekend, and Ashley and I have training on Saturdays for like every other Saturday for the next 3 weeks. And it's part of keeping up your license. Like, you have to have, I think, 27 hours of training every year, and then there's mandatories, which is good. Pain in the ass, but it's good. Learn a lot, meet a lot of people, and then you share. So I have a training after we do this. We're doing this on Saturday morning. You meet a lot of people that get it, quote unquote, that get the struggles of that endeavor. That's one reason. Another is, I was talking with somebody last night even, and that works for a lot of people, right? Education's big on everyone's mind.
Yeah.
And I talked to a person that works for Children's Services. And, you know, the biggest reporter source to children's services are fucking schools.
Yeah.
And with kids not being in school, the kids that are in brutal situations, they just lose a level of security, and it's a heartbreaking thing. And then she was talking about, they're talking about laying off, furloughing children's services workers. So it's at the end of the day, all these poor fucking kids are the ones getting screwed over here. They're losing not just school's so much more than education for a lot of kiddos, man. And they've now lost that level of security, and who knows when they'll get it back, right? With everything going on, and will schools be open or not? And then, because kids are falling through the cracks now, there's caseworkers and children's service employees that are being considered for layoffs and furloughs. And that shit, it's heartbreaking stuff, man.
Yep.
We, as Ashley and I, and if you're listening and wondering where it ties into mental health and addiction and alcoholism, I'll get to that, because it does for my personal story. And it does because I don't want to put a percentage to it, because it'll probably be inaccurate, because I haven't necessarily researched the data for today's show. But most, if not all, cases of children going into being removed from their parents and put into foster care are because of drug addictions and or severe mental health issues for the parents. Because if you're beating or putting a fucking cigarette out on a child, you're sick as fuck, okay? And you got to put that into the mental health. So it does tie in here.
Yeah.
And for my personal story, there's no way that I'd be in a position to put a roof over a kid's head had I not cleaned up my act and got sober. So that's how it ties in,
mm-hmm.
to be blunt about it. And Ashley and I could go show after show after show talking about this, and it's not a pat on the back or a, hey, look at me. This is a cry for help. The system needs you. The system needs people to needs a lot of things. It needs, if you're able, and you've ever talked about it with your wife, spouse, partner, whatever the fuck, if you've ever talked about it, talk more about it, because we get texts daily about kids that need homes. So if you felt a nudge, or as we've talked about before, a call, which is what Ashley got when she decided to do this. This is me. I'm not the saint here. She is. I just followed in her footsteps, and it's changed my life 100% for the better, as hard as it's been at times, but I was led by her, and I'm so grateful for that every day that I wake up. What this world needs are fixers, not identifiers. We have problems out there. We can all identify them, but we need fixers. We need people to be a solution. And you can be a solution in your own city, in your own backyard, and not worry about the macro, fix America, or fix the whole state, or fix the whole world, right? You can make a difference right in your own backyard if you get a call, or you feel a nudge, and you've ever considered becoming a foster parent. If Chris fucking Pondoff can be a foster parent, you can be a foster parent. Okay? Just that speaks for itself. And I promise you it'll change your life for the better, and I do promise you it'll be hard. But it's needed. Another way you can help if that's not your course is there are services out there, places out there. There's that support foster parents and most importantly, the foster kids. There's a place in St. Louis on Brentwood called the Foster Care Coalition. I think the place is called Refresh. It's a store they have that takes donations, and they have new clothes. They have all the things that you need. These kids, and it's all quality stuff. It's not the stuff we normally throw in a bag and take and drop off at Goodwill. A friend of mine was saying that her foster son was coming up on his senior prom, and she went there, and they were able to find the nicest tux for him, and the person that runs the store was like, it's really on a you can type of basis, and the foster mom had money. It wasn't an issue, but the person was like, this is such a big day, you go. And people end up, for that particular kid, it's a success story because now he is doing really good. I think he's in his 20s, and he gives back to that place. So there's just so much stuff if you need, that you can do to help. If actually being a foster parent is something that you don't feel that you can do. And please reach out on this, because we can point you in the right direction. There are CASAs out there. There's always need for more CASAs. That's CASA. It's a court-appointed special advocate. And not every case gets one. So the court, once the child goes into the system, there's a court case opened, and a team that follows that child. That includes the foster parents, a GAL, which is called a guardian ad litem, that is essentially it's a child's attorney, so they defend the child from a legal standpoint. And then if they're lucky, they get a CASA. And a CASA, Charlie was lucky enough to have one, is a guy or gal that is a volunteer, strictly a volunteer, and advocates 100% for the child. So though he would come over, his name was Brian, and we'll never forget him because he was just a fucking super guy. And he'd come over and hang out with Charlie for an hour. Ashley and I loved it because they gave us an hour break. We got to sit and just relax. They'd go out in the yard and play. And Brian, there's some training that they has checks in on the child, and the child can eventually hopefully build some trust and confide in them. It's a check on the foster parents in a sense, which is great, because at first I was like, I was that typical, what's he got to, yeah. But then I quickly realized how it was a privilege, and he would then go in court and advocate for the child and on his behalf. So there's a shortage of CASAs. You can look it up, CASA. That those are ways that you can help, and not just so. The third reason, it was because this training's like fresh on my mind. The other parts of conversations we had, with schools, around schools, and kids not being able to go back to school potentially. They missed a lot, and how it's more than an education system. But the third reason that it's so fresh on my mind, probably because I get balled up, but I get these texts. Ashley and I, we're part of the foster parents group. The system sends us text messages. It sounds unprofessional, right? But it's not, because it's about expediency. When a kid needs a placement, we're all on this group text. It's a professional number. I say, not. It's called a home finding text, and they send it to you, and it says placement needed for 7-month-old baby boy, and then it gives you the details. And then you respond if you're available, if your home's available, right? Well, I almost wish these texts, and I don't know if I can, but I wish they were public for everyone to see, because they'll rip your fucking heart out. I mean, I don't care. I'm going to read one of them. So this was yesterday at 11:05 in the morning, right before lunch. Placement needed today for a 7-month-old baby boy from St. Charles County, being discharged today with multiple fractures in different stages of healing. We'll need emergency follow-up care at Cardinal Glennon. Please let us know if you're interested in placement. Text back to reply.
Oh.
7-month-old baby boy from St. Charles County being discharged today with multiple fractures in different stages of healing. So you're going about your day, you're doing your work, you're bullshitting around the water cooler, you're talking about when sports are coming back and how much you miss hockey and all that shit, and then you get a text at 11:05 right before lunch that a home is fucking needed for a 7-month-old baby that has had the shit kicked out of him, which is my leap, to where he's had multiple fractured bones over the course of his 7 months. And then, you know, if that baby's placed with you, then they open the floodgates and all the details come flowing. So that's one of many we get. I would say on average it's at least 1 or 2 a day, and there's not enough available homes for these kids. And that's just, so this is St. Louis City, County, Jefferson County, St. Charles County, that we get texts for. And me being from St. Louis now, being registered in St. Louis, you know, for those of you listening in Illinois, I've heard it's very similar, the system. But it's just as you get those, and you think mental health, and you think addiction. That's where I go.
Yeah.
Maybe because it's what we do, and we're trying to help. So the other way that people can help is if you're struggling and you are a parent, is by getting help, and by reaching out, and by realizing you can't do it on your own. And there are success stories in the foster care system. Well, you don't hear about them, but there are parents that have lost their child because of a drug addiction, but have gotten it together and gotten their child back. Ashley and I lead a once a month, it's now on Zoom, foster parent group locally, and we've met so many great couples, and it's for our sanity, because when you're in it, you get it, and it's hard to get it till you're in it. And one of our friends now, her placement got reunified, because when you get a foster child, the first and primary goal is to reunification for the court system, is reunify this child with his or her birth parent. Birth parents are best for the child to be with, right? Absolutely. So this child's bio parent, hit rock bottom. I would imagine, not without knowing all the details and not divulging too much, and picked herself up, or himself, and got it together, and got his or her child back. Like, and then as much trauma and that probably happened on both ends, because I for the child first, and then also for the bio parent to lose a child to the court system. But we often say, and I learned from this Jesus stuff and from Matt Miofsky, that your lowest point isn't your final point. It isn't your last point. That there's hope, that you can get sober, you can get help for mental health. There's people that want to help, and some of them you start with us, and I'll try to push you in the right direction and get you to where you need to go. We've done it for people in the past since we started this podcast, and it's all behind the scenes stuff, but it's working. It's why we keep doing it. We're not.
Yeah, you may have noticed that we're not talking about you if you've come to us on this podcast.
Right.
So if you come to us, we're not going to talk about you.
Very good point, Jeff. Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, a podcast is fun to do. People do it for fun. And it is fun. But Jeff and we're doing this because, and continuing to do it, and continuing to, spend money to run it, because it's helped some people. So if you're a parent and you're struggling, and trust me, I could not parent my child effectively if I was still living the life I was living before I got sober. And I tried. I had my ex before I got sober, my last relationship before I went to rehab, had 2 kids, and one of them lived with us, and everything was okay, but it wasn't great. I mean, and I'll just give you my routine. I would work and then come home, and then I'd have a drink. Like, I'd sip on a drink, we'd have dinner, right? All was good. Normal fucking Leave It to Beaver shit. And then we'd bath and bedtime at 7:38. As soon as he was in bed, I would start making my single drink. I would let loose. And by the time I fell asleep, I was pretty much in the bag. And I've said this before, what if he woke up in the middle of the night with a severe medical emergency? We had to get him to the fucking hospital. You don't think about that shit when you're drinking. In my mind, it was okay because he was in bed. Right? Or on the weekends, we'd be barbecuing and drinking all day or whatever. And you don't think about what you never think about the oh shit scenarios, man. What happens if something happens and we have to be somewhat coherent to make a emergency decision? And I'll tell you, a lot of people that, well, my wife or my husband that's not drinking as much will handle it, or we'll call a grandparent, or A, you might not have that much time, and B, that wasn't the situation I was living in. My ex was just as fucked up as I was. So we provided, we loved, and you just don't think about that stuff, and it's embarrassing to talk about, because when you're suffering from the disease, that's how your mind thinks. Oh, he's in bed, he's safe. I can now have a shot and make these drinks stronger, and from 8 to 10:30, just lay one fucking on, man.
Right.
And thank God you get away with it, But there's always that issue where that chance that worst case happens, and next thing you know, you're too fucked up to make a coherent decision in a time of panic, or you can't drive a kid to a hospital. and you got to wait on an ambulance. Yeah, who knows? It's all real life stuff, man, and it's not something that I want to be ashamed of. I want to living in shame is a real tough. I think that's the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
But recognizing it and then meeting people where they are, because I'm not coming at you fucking judging you, man, or whoever's listening and in that spot. Like, I can meet you where you're at because I've been there. What I ask for you to do is just listen. You have to listen, and people need to. That's the hardest part, and they often say that, like, denial, right, is because it's just you shut down to listening.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying I have all the answers to life, but I've been there, and then I've gotten through it, and I can offer you the tips and the way that worked for me, and now I'm able to be a halfway decent parent. I have a lot of room for improvement, but I have a measuring stick of what was not so good of a parent, and that was me 6+ years ago. So what I ask is for if you're struggling and you're a parent, I don't ask anything. I just want to talk to you. I want to tell you that there's so much hope. Hope is not lost. Things can get better. It is possible. I'm walking, living proof of that. Your children are resilient. They should almost be educators to us grown-ups, because they don't have all the bullshit baggage with them yet. They're the quickest to forgive. They just want to be happy and pursue happy and fun. It's all they want to do is be happy and have fun. Like to fucking live like that, right? To just want to be happy and pursue it at all costs, and be so quick to forgive and be resilient to heal and love. Like, that's what kids are made up of, man. So if you're listening and you think there's an issue and you need help for it, I promise you, your child's gonna love you even more for it if you make the call, or you reach out and you admit that you don't have it all figured out, and that people are out there to help, that they can help, and that's wisdom, and that's fucking courage, and that's fucking balls. So that's basically what I wanted to kind of get off my chest today, and I could go on, Jeff, on this, and maybe I'll have, we will line up some people to talk about it too.
Yeah.
Just me.
I heard we have a mutual friend who's just started the training, so
yes,
that's exciting.
It's if we're talking about the same person, she is going to just be amazing at it, and we just and I understand it's not for everybody. That's why I laid out ways to if you're feeling a nudge, to impact it with, because it is a hard fucking job. I mean, there's some kids that have so much trauma, and that requires you to sit with them in it, and it's all you got to sit with them in it. At the first night is about a roof, a belly full, and just love, right? These kids are entitled to that.
Mm-hmm.
And then as the days and weeks string together, then it you got to sit with them in it. And the one thing I've learned through this foster care system is that and through all the training and help support other parents and with their children and their cases, is that I don't think we understood childhood trauma even when I was growing up the way that we do now. And I'm just going to put this out there. If somebody breaks in, let's say if somebody breaks into your house while you're there, they break into your house, they realize you're home, and then they run out. Let's say that happens. To a lot of my friends with kids, that would be that incident would be a brutal ordeal, a traumatic ordeal. Their house got broken into. If they all got woken up, their kids were panicked, freaked out, and the person broke in and ran away because somebody was home. That, let's say that it's a couple with one kid's 4 or 5. That kid saw the person break in and run away. The kid would be terrified, and trauma would develop and would brew from that incident, and that kid won't forget it. And hopefully that couple, this is a completely hypothetical. I'm not, there's seriously, but let's say that couple that had that kid would probably try to talk to someone, because they also would be traumatized. That would be a traumatic ordeal for them. Talk to someone and help them deal with their trauma and try to heal from a traumatic event.
Yeah.
Let's say take that incident, place it in a place like North City or East St. Louis, a poverty-stricken, predominantly African-American neighborhood, and present that scenario of trauma. It wouldn't even register. With the crime rates and the violence and the poverty, that scenario I just presented wouldn't even be a blink of the eye, I don't think, on the trauma. You know that whole saying, hold my beer, right?
Yeah.
So imagine that 4 or 5-year-old that I just spoke of, having seen that times however much shit that they've already seen, traumatic, gunfire, break-ins, fights, issues with police officers, and then that child doesn't get checked out for their childhood trauma. Ever. And then grows up to be a teenager. Picture that. and how can we help? That's all I got. Let us pray.
If you're struggling or know someone that is, please have them check out our podcast and reach out to Chris or me. We want to listen, and we're super eager to help. Pondoff's Anonymous is Chris Pondoff and produced by me, Jeff Allen. Our music is Anti-Hero by McCall and Gentle Waters by Wild Wonder. For more information, visit pondoffsanonymous.com. Find us on Facebook and Instagram.